That's convenient. That's convenient as well. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Bourbon of the Week. My name's Chris. I'm going to be your host for today, and today we have a sample of Four Roses limited edition from 2019. Thanks to my brother-in-law, Dump Truck Dave. Check us out on Instagram, Patreon, Discord, all those links in the description below. Click that like and subscribe button. We're trying to get to 10,000, and we're trying to do it quicker than we're currently doing it. But everybody knows before we get started on all of this bottle and our Bourbon Bomb of the Week, which is going to actually be my thoughts on what I've been thinking, let's get into this. Time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. Banger after banger. First of all, I have my notes written down right over here. I wasn't going to be able to remember all of this, so let's talk about it. 21-year-old whiskey in this. That's OBSV. 15-year-old whiskey in this. OESK. Then we have 15-year-old OESV and 11-year-old OESV as well. So technically the age statement on this is 11 years old, but there's 21-year-old whiskey in this. And that's going to come up again in our Bourbon Bomb of the Week on my thoughts on what I've been drinking, because I have a very specific question for you, the viewer. But let's talk about this. 112.6 proof. You know the rules: price, taste, drinkability. Let's start with drinkability on this. I have 2 more ounces if we need it tonight. So for 112.6 proof, I will say this has a little bit of a bite to it. We're talking some high rye mash bills on this, but I do get a little bit of that Kentucky hug on here. Nothing overwhelming, but normally, at least recently, a lot of the stuff that I've been drinking has been drinking under its proof, especially this premium whiskey that I've been drinking. And this one, I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit above the proof on this. I might blind this at like 115 proof, but I'm not quite sure yet. Now, 112 is nothing to sneeze at by any means, but I will say after drinking 120, 125 proof every night, 112 should seem kind of easy. And for me, this is giving me a little bit of a burn on the way down. Now, I will say the reason I do drinkability is because some people aren't ready for the proof that they're at, right? If you're starting off in whiskey and you jump into 135 proof, you're going to be like, this is trash. It tastes like straight gasoline. But if you're like, hey, I've kind of worked my way into that 100 proof, maybe that 110 proof range, and Chris is telling me this 112 proof drinks more like a 106, 107, then I can go out and try it. But if this 112 proof drinks like 115, 117, then maybe I leave that one on the shelf for a little while, especially at the price point. But for me, I feel like that's where I'm at. I feel like I would blind this around 115. I also feel like Four Roses for me is also drank a little bit hot. Again, that's not a bad thing. 1792 is one of my favorite lines, and they all drink hot for me. Maybe there's an expression or two in there that doesn't, but it seems like consistently across the board, Four Roses and 1792 drink a little bit hot for me. So I'm just letting you know as the consumer, if you don't like that big ethanol kick, then maybe this isn't something you're working towards rather than something that you're ready to have right now. So I will say we give it a 7.0. If it drinks right at its proof, I think this drinks slightly above its proof. So we'll go right below that 7.0 mark. Let's go like 6.87 when it comes to drinkability on this. Again, not terrible by any means, but it could definitely sip a little bit easier. And up next, we're going to get a taste on this. And Four Roses works with 2 different mash bills and 5 different yeast strains, which is what that OBSV, OBSK, everything that I mentioned before is. If you want to, I'll put it on the screen real quick so you can look it up. You can pause right now. But this uses a blend of both mash bills. I don't know the percentage. I don't know the percentage of 21-year-old, the percentage of 15, the percentage of 15, and the percentage of 11. But I can tell you it's 75% corn, 20% rye, which leaves us with 5% malted barley for one mash bill. And then I believe it's 60% corn, 35% rye, and then 5% malted barley for the second mash bill. So both higher when it comes to the rye content, and that's what I think might be influencing this ethanol kick. But I'm pretty good at this point of distinguishing between spice and ethanol, and this still drinks a little bit hot, but the taste on this is where this bottle truly shines. I gotta tell you, people have been asking for nosings. I'm not the best at nosings, but I've been trying to get better at it. I feel like the only way I'm gonna get better at it is if I keep going. So I will tell you, the nose on this, when I first took a sniff of it, gave me a little bit of a bright note. Like bright was the first word that came to mind. Some fruity notes on this, and then a little bit almost like a big red cinnamony flavor, which I wasn't expecting. And then it didn't really translate to the palate, which isn't a bad thing. I do like that big red cinnamon flavor, but I don't always love it because sometimes it can overpower the rest of the glass. But the nose on this is phenomenal. Let's get into the tasting notes now. Next. Anybody who's been watching my channel for any amount of time knows that I love a sweet whiskey. That's what got me into bourbon in the first place. I love that sweet flavor profile that comes along with bourbon. That being said, Four Roses seems to be the exception of somebody that can make a spicy whiskey and they can make it good. Usually I'm looking for a big sweetness on the kick, Give me a little bit of spice in the middle and then mellow it out with some oak on the end. This seems to be the opposite for me. I'm getting a very good spicy note on this. Maybe you're getting that cinnamon, not quite that big red cinnamon, but that cinnamon flavor in general. And then you get a lot of sweetness on the middle of this. I get that fruity note in the middle, and then the end balances it out with that oak. But at the end of the day, it's like a sweet, mellow oak rather than something that's dense or heavy or chocolatey or leathery or anything like that. Again, I went with bright on the nose and I'm going with bright on the palate on this. This is very bright. I like this a lot. Different from what I normally like, but still very, very good when it comes to a whiskey. We might have to break out the other 2 ounces tonight. I'm going to go right below 9. Again, if it was more on profile for what I truly love, I think this would be in the 9s, but I gotta remember, this isn't what I always loved about whiskey. It's something that I've become acquired to, that I can respect, and that I do enjoy, but we're going to keep it below a 9. I'm going to go like 8.86 when it comes to taste on this. A very, very good glass of whiskey. If it was more on profile for what I like, definitely a 9, but an 8.886, 8.86. We don't need that many 8s. Is definitely a good spot to be at. So last but not least, we're going to get a price on this, and this bottle comes in at $140. We're going to keep this short and sweet because we're going to talk about this more in our Bourbon Bomb of the Week, but $140 seems like a steal for me. We're getting 21, 15, 15, and 11-year-old whiskey. We've got Four Roses names behind this. This is a phenomenal glass of whiskey when it comes to the flavor profile. Maybe it's a little bit off when it comes to drinkability, but it's not like it drinks at 150 proof. I got to tell you, $140 seems like a steal. I'm going to finish this, and I think we're going to pour up the other one tonight because it's that damn good. 7.0 if it's an average price whiskey between $70 and $90. At average drinkability and average taste, I say it's above average when it comes to taste, slightly below average when it comes to drinkability, so it can be above average when it comes to price, which it is. Again, it's limited release. I understand all that. So I will say we're going above a 7 for sure. I think it's a little bit above average at that price point. I'm going to say like I was going to say 8s, but let's keep it below that. 7.99. Let's keep it right below an 8. 7.99 when it comes to price on this. So listen, while I add these scores up and pour up our other 2 ounces here, I probably shouldn't do this. Let's do 1 ounce here. Let's save this last half for another night. But I will say, let's send it over to our Bourbon Bomb of the Week and talk about my thoughts on what I've been drinking and the price on this bottle right here compared to some other stuff on the market. Cheers, y'all. So my thoughts on what I've been thinking, I gotta say, and I just thought about this before I even said it out loud, this was in 2019, so maybe that's the big difference right now. I gotta ask you, what are Four Roses limited editions going for today? What are these cash strength limited editions going for today? Are they up there in the 200 to 250s? Because it feels like, if this is what it was in 2019, how are we not going back there? If they were making money at $140 on 21-year-old whiskey, why are we not still doing that today? Supply and demand, obviously, I understand how markets fluctuate like that, but is it not price gouging at some point? Are we not like gas stations or grocery stores where these multimillionaires are just making more money and saying, oh, well, inflation went up, so we got to raise our prices? I am part of a small business. I understand that as your costs go up, your prices must go up. But at some point, if your costs go up $1 and your prices go up 5, we're not meeting anywhere on inflation. We're at this point becoming greedy. And I feel like the whiskey market is becoming greedy. Now, I've heard the other side of things saying they want to combat the secondary market. So they see these going on the secondary market for 3, 4, 5 times the value. They're saying to themselves, why don't I get that money instead of letting it go on the secondary market? Well, again, that still just doesn't sit right with me. The secondary market is an issue on its own, and that also has to be stopped. But you jacking your prices up to 3 times the value of what you actually think it's worth to combat somebody who's stupid enough to pay that on the secondary market just feels like you're taking the small guy, the me's, out of the game. Because we look at these prices, we say to ourselves, Russell's Reserve 15, $250. I don't think I want to pull the trigger on that. I was going to on that specific release because I'm a Russell's Reserve fanatic, but there's other bottles out there, and I didn't do that actually. I actually just got offered a bundle pack for a Russell's Reserve 15, 2 Russell's Reserve 10s, and a Russell's Reserve single barrel rye that basically, after shipping, broke down to all of them being at MSRP, but I just didn't feel like paying $500 a car note out of my pocket to have a chance to drink Russell's Reserve 15, not knowing if I'm even going to like it or not. So again, I recognize now, I didn't even think about this, but in 2019, has the market shifted that much? Is this price gouging? Has this become combating the secondary market, or is this just straight up greed while the strike iron while it's hot? Is this just them taking advantage of knowing these are going to sell out every time they put limited edition on it? What's your budget? What's your cutoff? Where are you drawing the line? For me, as a YouTuber, I feel like I have to have everything. I feel like you also feel that way. It's the FOMO of things. Trust me, I'm right there with you on that. I don't want to miss out on something that could be exceptional just because of the price tag. But at this point, I feel like we moved away from daily sippers, right? We went from, hey, I'm just going to buy Old Granddad 114 because I love it and I'm drinking that, to I have to buy every single new release that comes out. And now I feel like we as a community are kind of toning it back down to, hey, I'm cool with my Knob Creek 12 year. It's on Fine Wine and Good Spirits 50% off right now. I'm buying 12 of those. Forget all these new releases. I love this particular bottle right here. I'm going to sip on this until it's gone. Let me know where you guys are at right now with the market, where your price points are at. I know I'm struggling with groceries these days. I buy a thing of organic fruit and it's $16.99 and it's moldy the next day, so we got to eat it that day. So I understand things are strapped. Me as the YouTuber, I feel like I have to put out the newest video on the newest bottle, so I'm always hunting that new thing. But I want to know where like the average person in the community is right now, so let me know in the comment section below. I'm done this rant. Let's get back to our score. Hey, if you made it this far in the video, click that like and subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. This bottle comes in at a 7.91, a fantastic spot, especially in 2024. It'll be somewhere in our top 5, at least close, because I have a couple of reviews before this that I haven't put on my list yet, so we will see where this falls the day that I get to editing it. But a 7.91 is a fantastic spot for this. This is a great whiskey. Again, I didn't even look up, and I should do the research because why else am I on the internet? I should have known how much these are going for today. Not the 2019 specifically, but what are the Four Roses limited editions going for today? Because if they're $200, $250, now we're getting to a point where it's overpriced for me and I won't buy them at that point. But a 7.91 is a fantastic spot for this. If you've had this bottle, let me know what you think about it. But listen, that's where we're going to leave you for today. Make sure you check me out on Instagram at Bourbon of the Week. We crushed 15,000. We're pushing 17,000 over there. Make sure you check out our Patreon page and our Discord. We have some very, very special barrel picks coming out, both from Backbone. We got a Rawson Squib pick coming out with a bunch of different creators, and we have some Lux Row stuff coming out that's literally only going to make it onto our Patreon page with a couple other creators. So check that out in the link in the description below. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay trying some older whiskey from 2019 before the prices got ridiculous. Cheers, y'all. Pretty freaking good.